the arm of an 8-year-old boy. The arm was severed in a farm accident late yesterday. And as Ken Speak reports, cool thinking and excellent medical care worked together to save the child's arm. Now, we must warn you that some of the pictures you are about to see are graphic, but sometimes miracles aren't pretty. Here's Ken's exclusive report.
It was a precious cargo aboard that Piper Lance Turbo, an 8-year-old boy, a tough little guy in trouble, and Derek Geiser knew he was in trouble. He'd been nearby while his dad was unloading a silage wagon like this one. Nobody knows for sure how, but somehow Derek's arm got caught and wrenched off. Derek hurt. He told his mom it didn't hurt as much as an intravenous needle he had experienced, but this hurt so much longer. Traveling with Derek was a box filled with ice, and packed inside was Derek's arm, which Derek's dad had recovered because he'd read a story about limb reattachment in the Reader's Digest a month ago. Derek was awake and alert. He answered questions for the medical personnel at North Memorial Medical Center emergency room, but the big question on his mind was, can you save my arm? That question wasn't uppermost in his mom's mind, but Donna Geiser knew what she wanted to hear.
Derek's arm does look favorable for replantation. We probably have about an 85 or a 90% chance of it working. That won't be a normal arm afterwards. But at his age, it should be a pretty good arm, an arm that he could use.
So the surgery began. 14 people working in 2 areas in the operating room. One team getting Derek ready to receive his arm. Another team working on the arm itself, cleaning it, removing tissue too badly damaged to reattach.
Now, if it were an older man or something, then perhaps we would be less vigorous. But since it's really only an 8-year-old child, we feel fairly strong about trying to save the arm. We're ready to put it on there. You ready for it?
These folks made it look simple, but the surgery was tricky. Because chances of success decrease the longer a limb is without its blood supply, they were under the gun to get blood flowing to Derek's arm, and they couldn't do that till the bone was reconnected. They felt gratified when, less than 5 hours after Derek's arm was severed, it was pink again. Blood was flowing, and there was life there. Then came the reconnecting of veins, nerves, muscles, tissue. It would last another 5 hours, all of which could still be in vain.
You have to be cautious because if you get infection, if you have that sort of complication, the whole thing could be lost yet.
But Derek has several things going for him. He's young and strong. He got the proper medical help fast. He'll recover from an accident that could have killed him. And if things continue to go right, Derek will have his own right arm, have it, and be able to use it. Ken Speak, News 11, Robbinsdale.
And what's ironic about Derek's accident is that it happened during National Farm Safety Week. Figures compiled by the American Farm Bureau show that 1 in 5 farm families will experience a serious accident on the farm. Here in Minnesota, 65 farmers will die in farm accidents. Farm Safety Week was established to change those figures through farm safety education.
Unbelievable story.
It was back of the silage box.
Oh, did you fall against it? Or what happened?
Yeah, when I was coming down by there, and then I was running, then I grabbed onto that one bar, then it caught my hand.
It caught his hand, then ripped off his arm. And 3 days ago, Derek Geiser found he's the same 9-year-old who looked like this 2 weeks ago. Derek Geiser. At this point, he had hopes he might be able to use his right arm again, but that's all. His arm had been ripped off when he'd fallen against a piece of operating farm equipment. Some quick thinking by his family, some good emergency care, and a fast airplane had brought him to the Twin Cities and Dr. Alan Van Beek, who specializes in the microsurgical techniques that Derek needed. Doctors worked on Derek for 7 hours, and when they finished, he had his right arm again. Today, Derek felt cooped up. He was antsy, couldn't wait to be on his way. But he found time to show a TV guy what he has to do when he gets home to keep his arm in shape till the nerves grow back to give him control.
I used web space and the thumb Phillips used to go like that, and I have to move my fingers.
When the accident first happened, I thought, gee, I hope I'll be home for Christmas. And my mother said, the first prognosis was 2 to 4 weeks, and Mother said, well, maybe he'll be home for Halloween. And so this is nice.
Yep, this is nice. Something Derek Geiser couldn't agree with more. He's got to come back next week so the doctor can check to see how his arm is healing. And he realizes his right arm will probably never be as strong as it once was, that something could still go wrong with the whole thing. But today he wasn't thinking much about that. Derek Geiser was going home. And today that's all that seemed to matter. Ken Speak, News 11, Robbinsdale.
Oh no, now the same thing with the balloons. This is the one you don't want to drop ever.
Now let me see what you can do with wiggling it. That's a... Oh.
Almost got these together.
There?
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like?
It's like tingling and tingling.
Like tingling and tingling electricity, huh? Oh! I'm impressed.
It may not look very pretty, but Derek Geiser's right arm is healing. And the doctor who did most of the reconnection surgery 5 months ago says nerves are regrowing much faster than he expected. But Dr. Alan Van Beek had difficulty remembering it was last September that he worked on Derek for 7 hours at North Memorial Medical Center. He had to reattach Derek's arm, which had been clipped off when Derek got too close to a piece of operating farm equipment near his home in New York Mills. Today, the results of that operation could be seen. There was movement. Not much yet, maybe, but a few months ago, people in this room never expected to see any movement yet, let alone feeling.
What does it feel like?
It's like tingling and tingling.
Like tingling and tingling electricity, huh?
Tingling electricity, like it's asleep maybe. Folks here are excited. Derek will have use of his right arm, never as much as before the accident, but it'll be his arm and he'll be able to use it. And Derek and his mom and dad are thankful for that. Ken Speak, News 11, Edina. Tired, but they'd been up since 6 this morning. By mid-afternoon, they were just about beat. But they were bound and determined to take a reporter up on his promise of a tour of the TV station. See the guy in there who's pointing like I'm pointing? He's talking about the weather. His name is Paul Douglas. Brother number 1, or 2, or 3, depending on who's counting. Anyway, Derek Geiser, with the sling on his arm there, was celebrating an anniversary of sorts. It was just 3 weeks ago tonight he arrived in the Twin Cities in trouble. He'd gotten his arm pinched off in a farm machine. Not too many years ago, that would have meant no arm. But for Derek, things had clicked. His dad had found the arm and packed it in ice. Emergency medical personnel had kept him from going into shock. And Derek had gotten to a microsurgeon fast. 3 hours after the accident, Derek's arm was being reattached. 2 hours after that, Derek's blood was flowing through his arm again. Now he was back in the Twin Cities. His doctor had told him healing was well underway. Now he had a chance to be a normal, everyday kid again, to sit in the anchor chair. This is where Paul Douglas sits. This is where Diana Pierce sits, and that's where Paul Majors sits. To watch as the set changed from day to night. To listen while his brothers did the talking for once. What it was like while Derek was in the hospital.
Hard,
Why?
because you've never been apart that long, I don't think.
Like what it's like now that Derek's back home again.
Derek won't let us play with any of his new toys.
Yep, things have changed a little for the Geisers since 3 weeks ago. And those changes have made Derek's dad, Terry, aware again of the generosity people can show.
I can't believe it, and everybody's been so great. And I'd just like to thank everyone that's helped out.
8-year-old Derek has a long recovery ahead of him. He won't have use of his arm till the nerves grow back, maybe next year. And he'll be 13 before he knows for sure how much he can use his hand. But whether he realizes it or not, he's already lived through what a few years ago would have been called a miracle. Ken Speak, News 11, Golden Valley.